In this story, YN is married to Jimin, a successful CEO known for his cold and composed demeanor. Despite his reserved exterior, Jimin Hapai a dissection IR to connect with YN on a D _, more personal level. One evening, he proposes a game of truth and dare, hoping to break down the barriers and bring out YN's BLD and daring side. As the game progresses, both characters uncover hidden facets of each other law at ding to unexpected revelations and a strengthened bond. The city. Lights twinkled outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a soft glow across the elegantly decorated living room. YN sat on the plush sofa, nervously fidgeting with the hem of her dress. Her husband, the formidable CEO Jimin, sat across from her, his piercing gaze softened by the flickering candlelight. "How about we play a game?" he suggested, his voice carrying a hint of intrigue. "A game?" YN echoed, a mixture of curiosity and apprehension in her tone. "Yes, truth and dare," he said, a subtle smile playing on his LPs. "I think it's time we break out of our shells a bit." YN's heart raced as she nodded in agreement. Little did she know, this game would unravel hidden layers of their relationship, pushing boundaries and igniting a newfound passion. "Jimin, all right, let's get started, shall we?" he says, his voice low and smooth as velvet. His eyes gleam with a mischievous spark, hinting at the excitement lurking beneath his stoic exterior. He reaches for the half-empty bottle of wine on the coffee table, pouring another glass for YN. "You can go first, or shall I?" YN takes a deep breath, her heart fluttering like a trapped butterfly in her chest. She takes the glass, the liquid courage giving her the strength to speak. "I'll go first," she says, her voice a bit shakier than she would have liked. "Truth or dare?" Jimin Hila at NS back, his gaze unwavering. "Truth." In. She thinks for a moment, her eyes ting around the room as she gathers her thoughts. "What's the one thing you wish I knew about you, but you've never had the courage to tell me?" Jimin, he considers the question, his expression pensive. "I wish you knew how much your smile can warm my cold days." He confesses, his voice a gentle whisper that seems to carry the weight of unspoken words. He takes a sip of wine, his gaze never leaving hers. "And how much I crave the wapai mtha of your laughter in this otherwise solitary life at the top." YN. A warm blush creeps up YN's cheeks, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She reaches out, placing her hand over his. "I had no idea," she says softly, her voice a mere breath, "but I'm here now, and I'll make sure to fill your days with as much laughter and warmth as you want." Jimin, his hand TGHT around hers, a small smile tugging at the corners of his LPs. "Thank you," he murmurs, the sincerity in his voice palpable. "Now, it's my turn. Truth or dare?" In Shobi, taser bottom LP, the warmth of his confession, still LNG pound ring. "Dare," she says, her voice a bit blurred than before. Jimin, his eyes narrow slightly, calculating. "I dare you," he begins, pausing dramatically, "to dance for me." In. She looks at him, surprised by his choice of dare. Her heart races, a mix of excitement and nervousness. She takes a sip of her knee for courage. Maybe this is his way of asking me to be more open, to let go. She stands up, setting the glass down, and takes a deep breath. Jimin. He watches her, his expression unreadable as she rises from the couch. The room seems to hold its breath, the only sound the soft ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. The daring side of her, hidden behind the veil of his cold exterior, begins to impound YN. With a deep breath, YN starts to MVA, her BDYSW at ying to the rhythm of the quiet city night. She closes her eyes, imagining the beat of a silent melody that resonates within her soul. Each step is tentative at first, but gradually she finds her rhythm, her movements becoming more assured and S-pound-dense. Jimin's eyes are glued to her, his gaze into pound knees and hungry. He sets his WHNE glass aside, at ning back into the cushions as he watches his wife's transformation. He feels a strange at remth spreading through him, one that has nothing to do with the alcohol. Her BLDness is int xiz at ting, and he can't help but admire the grace and $scion she exudes. YN's movements become more confident, her eyes still closed as she allows herself to be swept away by the music in her mind. She can feel the tension in the room, but it's no longer because of his coldness, it's because of the electricity that's now crackling between them. She feels alive, her body telling a story that her words never could. Jimin, as the impromptu dance unfolds. Jimin can't tear his eyes away from Jimin. Her grace and $Scion are undeniable, and he's captivated by the sight of her letting go. He's never seen this side of her, and it stirs something D within him, a yearning for more. YN feels his eyes on her, and it only fuels her performance. She opens her eyes, meeting his gaze, and daringly moves CL to him. Her movements flew and seductive. She reaches out, her hand brushing his cheek, and whispers, "Your turn." Jimin. He swallows hard, the heat from her hand searing his SKN. "Truth," he says, his voice gruff with REYN. She nods, a knowing smile playing on her PS as she takes a seat beside him. "What was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to you, Jimin?" He chuckles, his eyes briefly looking away from hers as the memory "This is, well," he says, clearing his throat. "It was my first public speaking event. I was just a young intern, and I accidentally spilled an entire pitcher of water all over myself and the podium." YN. She gasps, trying to stifle a laugh. "Oh no, that must have been so mortifying." Jimin. He nods, a hint of a smile tugging at his P's. "It was, but it taught me to handle any situation with poise." He pours himself another glass of Ni, his hand steady despite the rush of blood to his cheeks. "Now, it's your turn. Truth or dare." YN. She considers her options, feeling a ill of excitement. Truth, she decides, LA at Ningen slightly. Jimin. He nods, his eyes searching hers. "What's the wildest fantasy you've ever had?" His question is blunt, but the way he asks it is gentle, as if coaxing a secret from a shy creature. A blush blooms across her cheeks, and she takes a P breath. "I've always fantasized about at King Love on the balcony," she whispers, her eyes ting to the glass doors that lead to the open sky. "With the city lights as our only witnesses." Jimin. His eyes Ken, the image painting a vivid picture in his mind. He reaches out, his thumb tracing the line of her jaw. "Why the balcony?" His voice is gruff with ire, the air thick with the scent of unspoken longing. She'll be, tase her bottom LP, her eyes searching his. "Because it feels dangerous, yet beautifully intm. At Tay," she confesses. "Like we're on top of the world, just the two of us." Jimin. His gaze rs on her P's, the words echoing in his mind. "I understand," he murmurs, his voice low and husky. "Sometimes, we all need a little danger to remind us we're alive." Hila at NSCL Sear, the WAPMTH. Of his Poundath caressing her cheek. "Your turn, truth or dare." She swallows, her heart racing. "Truth," she whispers, her voice barely audible over the pounding in her ears. Jimin. His eyes flicker with something she can't quite read. "What is the one thing you've always wanted to ask me, but have been too scared to?" She takes a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. "Why did you marry me?" Her voice is so faint it's almost lost in the soft hum of the city. Outside, Jimin, his hand stills on her jaw, his gaze searching hers for any sign of doubt or fear. Hila at NSCL Sear, his eyes never leaving hers. "Because you're the only one who can melt the ice around my heart," he whispers, his thumb brushing against her lower LP. "You're the one who makes this cold, lonely world bearable." YN. Her Poundath hit haze, his words resonating P within her. She places her hand over his, feeling the W at RM of his SKN against hers. "I didn't know," she murmurs, her eyes I am iming with Tay at RS. "I didn't know you felt that way." Jimin. He poos her CLCR, his arms WR at ping around her in a gentle embrace. "I didn't know how to show you," he admits, his voice CK with emotion. "The CEO is always expected to be in C-Enter-L, but with you, I just want to be human." YN. She at NS into him, her heart pounding against his chest. "You don't have to be in scene troll all the time," she whispers, her hands tracing the C-nors of his muscular back. "I love you just the way you are." Jimin. He holds her GHT, his BRE at thing deep and uneven. "But what if I'm not enough?" The vulnerability in his voice is stark. a stark contrast to the powerful figure he cuts in the corporate world. In, she poos back slightly, looking up at him with a determined gaze. You are more than enough, she says firmly. You just need to let me in. Let me show you. Jimin, he nods, his expression a complex P-pound stry of emotions. All right, he says, taking a deep breath at dare. YN. She B. Taser Lee. P. Her eyes gleaming with mischief. I dare you, to key $. Me, right here, right now, she says, pointing to the spot just below her ear. And make it OP, at SS, on at Tay, that the entire room feels Jimin, his eyes FL. Skr with surprise before ASM lootering heat takes over. Hila at NS in, his BR pound ath WAPM against her neck as he captures her Earl B, between his teeth. His hand slides around her Saint, pulling her CL sear as he per dollar says, a gentle key $. To the send $. of SPT she's indicated. In, she gasps. ASH. Ver running DWN. Her SP knee, as his L. PS. Graze her SKN. His TUH sends a jolt of electricity through her bead eye making her knees wobble. She clut haze at his shirt, her pulse racing. Jimin. He senses her response and ABLJs, his key $. ease becoming more insistent, moving along the curve of her neck, his GRPT, GHT, pound NS, the WAP high MTHA of his, hand spreading through her bead eye like wildfire. Is this what you had in mind? He murmurs against her, SKN, his voice, AS, pound ductive promise. N nods, her eyes fluttering closed as she succumbs to the sensation. The penthouse seems to SHR. Neck around them, the cityscape outside forgotten as they become lost in their own little world. Jimin, his key, $. ease grow beeler, moving to the corner of her youth he can feel the tens on in her bead eye, the way she's holding her BR pound ath. His own heart is racing, the game of truth and dare having unlocked a side of him he didn't know was their side that CRVs, her TUCH, YN. She lets out a soft moan at N, her hand SL'ding up to cup his cheek. Jimin, she whispers, her voice filled with a newfound confidence. Take me to the balcony. Jimin he stands, his eyes, Dapike with dairy. He takes her hand, leading her to the balcony doors. The cool night air brushes against them as he opens the door, revealing the glittering skyline. He poos her CL sear, his L. PS claiming hers in a PA $I on TE. Key $. YN. The chilly breeze wraps around them as they step out onto the balcony. She gasps against his youth, the contrast of the cool air and his WAPM MBR, at CE sending a TH pi ill through her BD. She melts into him, her APMs winding around his neck. Jimin, he doesn't miss a beat, D pound penning, the key $. His hands find the small of her back, his FNGARS D, GGNG into the soft fabric of her dress. The sound of their BRI at thing is the only sound that breaks the city's nocturnal symphony, their hearts beating in sync with the distant rhythm of the night. In, she can feel the city's pulse beneath their feet, as they stand at the edge of the balcony, the concrete jungle sprawling out before them. The dizzying height only adds to the exhilaration, her heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. Jimin, his hands are WRM and strong, anchoring her to the present as he key $. ease her with an urgency that feels both THR-ling and terpi iffying his thumb TR at sees the line of her collarbone, sending SH verse down her SP knee. She can taste the wine on his L. P. Sweet and potent, a heady mix with the THRLL of the daring game. YN. She poos back slightly, her BR pound ath ragged and her eyes wide. Gemini. I've never felt like this, she whispers, her voice trembling with the weight of her confession. The wind whispers through her hair, carrying her words into the night. Jimin he looks into her eyes, his own filled with a fee-pound re-sneed. Neither have I, he admits, his voice a low gurg WL. His hands move to the back of her neck, tilting her head to D pound pen, their key $. His thumb TR at sees the pulse point on her neck, feeling the R at PIDTHRB of her heart. The city skyline is a blur behind them, the stars above seemingly within their reach. Their key $. Is a silent declaration, a promise to conquer their fears and insecurities together.